of Sri Aurobindo from the book Path of Prayer. This is a collection from the works of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Page 36. Topic Sadhana Sutras. Need for a central faith. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, I spoke of a strong central and, if possible, complete faith because your attitude seemed to be that you only cared by the full response, that is, realization, the presence, regarding all else as quite unsatisfactory, and your prayer was not bringing you that. But prayer by itself does not usually bring that at once, only if there is a burning faith at the center or a complete faith in all the parts of the being. That does not mean that those whose faith is not so strong or surrender complete cannot arrive, but usually they have to go at first by small steps and to face the difficulties of their nature until by perseverance or tapasya they make a sufficient opening. Even a faltering faith and a slow and partial surrender have their force and their result. Otherwise, only the rare few could do the sadhana at all. What I mean by the central faith is the faith in the soul or the central being behind, a faith which is there even when the mind doubts and the vital despairs and the physical wants to collapse, and after the attack is over reappears and pushes on the path again. These words are the collective works of Sri Aurobindo from volume 29, page 95 and 96. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says these, calling to the mother, praying to her, are acts of the kind. Openness is a state of consciousness which keeps it turned to the mother, free from all moments, expecting, able to receive what come directly from the divine. Collective Works of Sri Aurobindo, volume 29, page 105. Next topic, the whole principle of this yoga. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, in this yoga, the whole principle is to open oneself to the divine influence. In this yoga, the whole principle is to open oneself to the divine influence. It is there above you, and if you can once become conscious of it, you have then to call it down into you. It descends into the mind and into the body as peace, as a light, as a force that works, as the presence of the divine with or without form, as Ananda. Before one has this consciousness, one has to have the faith and aspire for the opening. Aspiration, call, prayer are forms of the one and the same thing and are all effective. You can take the form that comes to you or is easiest to you. The other way is concentration. You concentrate your consciousness in the heart. Some do it in the head or above the head, and meditate on the mother in the heart and call her in there. One can do either and both at the same different times, whatever comes natural to you or your mood to do at the moment. Especially in the beginning, the one great necessity is to get the mind quiet, reject at the time of meditation all thoughts and moments that are foreign to the sadhana. In the quiet mind, there will be a progressive preparation for the experience, but you must not become impatient if all is not done at once. It takes time to bring entire quiet into the mind, and you have to go on till the consciousness is ready. Collective Works of Sri Aurobindo, volume 29, page 106. Topic: all depends on whether you one can open or not. In this, our Lord says, in this yoga, all depends on whether you can open to the divine influence or not. If there is a sincerity in the aspiration and a patient will to arrive at the higher consciousness in spite of all obstacles, then the opening in one form or another is sure to arrive. But it may take a long or a short time according to the prepared, unprepared condition of the mind, heart, and body. So, if one has not the necessary patience, the effort may be abandoned owing to the difficulty of the beginning. There is no method in this yoga except to concentrate, preferably in the heart, and call the presence and power of the Divine Mother to take up the being, and by the workings of a force transform the consciousness. One can concentrate also in the head or between the eyebrows, but for many this is too difficult thing. When the mind falls quiet, the concentration becomes strong and the aspiration intense, then there is a beginning of experience. The more the faith, the more rapid the result is likely to be. For the rest, one must not depend on one's own efforts only, but succeed in establishing a contact with the divine and the receptivity to the mother's power and the mother's presence. Collective Works of Sri Aurobindo, Volume 29, page 107. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the sadhana of the inner concentration is based on, first point, fixing the consciousness in the heart, concentrating there on the idea, image, or the name of the Divine Mother, whichever comes easiest to you. Second aspect, a gradual and progressive quieting of the mind by this concentration in the heart. Third aspect, an aspiration for the mother's presence in the heart and the control by her of mind, life, and action. Collective Works of Sri Aurobindo, Volume 29, page 225. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, all can be done by the divine. All can be done only by the divine. The heart and nature purified, the inner consciousness awakened, the veils removed. If one gives oneself to the divine with all the complete trust and confidence, and even if one cannot do so fully at once, yet the more one does so, the more the inner help and guidance comes, and the contact and the experience of the divine grows within. If the questioning mind becomes less active and humility and the will to surrender grows in you, this ought to be perfectly possible. No other strength and tapasya are then needed but this alone. Collective Works of Sri Aurobindo, Volume 29, page 69. Two important openings is the next topic. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it will be evident that two most important things here are the opening of the heart center and the opening of the mind centers to all that is behind and above them. For the heart opens to the psychic being and the mind centers open to the higher consciousness, and the nexus between the psychic being and the higher consciousness is the principal means of siddhi. Let me repeat that again. For the heart opens to the psychic being and the mind centers open to the higher consciousness, and thus the nexus between the psychic being and the higher consciousness is the principal means of the siddhi. The first opening is effected by the concentration in the heart, a call to the divine to manifest within us, and through the psychic take up and lead the whole nature. Aspiration, bhakti, prayer, love, surrender are the main supports of this part of the sadhana, accompanied by a rejection of all that stands in the way of what we aspire. The second opening is effected by a concentration of the consciousness in the head, afterwards above it, and an aspiration and a call, a sustained will for the descent of the divine peace, power, light, knowledge, ananda into the being. The peace first, or the peace and the force together. Collective Works of Sri Aurobindo, Volume 30, page 27 and 28. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, Bhakti and love are part of the psychic movement. Bhakti and love are part of the psychic movement, a larger part of it, and in aspiring for the psychic change, you are aspiring for Bhakti and love. But it is not useful to restrict your aspiration by a single movement like that of Vaishnava Sadhana, for this yoga is more ample and contains, but is not confined to what is essential in the Vaishnava Sadhana. Whether you visit the physical Vrindavan or not doesn't matter. What is necessary is to find the inner union. What is necessary is to find the inner union through love and bhakti. Collective Works of Sri Aurobindo, Volume 30, page 362.